Viewed by some as a controversial new choice for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff position, he's been a fighter pilot, Air Force general, entrepreneur, associate CIA director, and even spent time at the Department of Agriculture. That's right, today we're going to look at the life, campaigns, and also the medals of Dan Razin Caine. US President Donald Trump first met Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Razin Caine in Iraq in 2018, where he was impressed with his bold and assertive response to tackling Islamic State. That said, there are concerns from many critics that Caine is being selected solely for loyalty to the president and not for other qualities needed for the position. If his nomination is confirmed by the Senate, Caine would be the first chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to have never served at the rank of full four-star general or admiral before assuming the position, and the first to have been retired at the time of their confirmation. Critics argue that Caine lacks the traditional prerequisites of being a combatant commander or service chief for the position of CJCS. This perceived lacking of extensive experience of properly coordinating different branches of the military, in addition to questions on loyalty, will be the main focus of concern for commentators. Although not strictly meeting the position's prerequisites, the President can waive those requirements. Caine's career has been described as non-traditional and therefore likely what President Trump is after. Trump described Caine as a real general and not a television general. His nickname and call sign, Razin, is a play on the idiom Raising Caine, reflecting his aggressive behaviour as a pilot. So who is he? John Daniel Caine was born in 1968 in Elmira, New York. As a kid, Caine's ambition was to become a fighter pilot, inspired by his father, an Air Force officer, F-4 pilot, and Southeast Asia veteran. Caine stated, "I grew up the son of a fighter pilot. That was our family business." An Air Force brat, Caine followed his father's military postings around the globe and graduated from Han High School in Germany. Going to college in Virginia and joining the ROTC, he graduated from Virginia Military Institute in 1990 and was commissioned shortly after. Caine completed pilot training at Sheppard Air Force Base in Texas in 1993, qualifying as a new pilot after the First Gulf War. This period was a difficult atmosphere of defence cuts and restructuring, but due to his tenacity at finding a billet, he avoided being banked like many other newly trained pilots. His first assignment was as an F-16 pilot at 174th Operations Group, 138th Fighter Squadron, Syracuse Air National Guard. Over the decade, Caine gained experience and seniority within the squadron, becoming a flight commander and chief of weapons and tactics. Incredibly, on 9/11, Caine was serving at Andrews Air Force Base near Washington, and his unit received orders to protect the skies above Washington, D.C. at all costs. Caine became a mission commander in the airspace above the city during that period. After 9/11, Caine deployed with the 332nd Air Expeditionary Group to Kuwait as Air Expeditionary Group Wing Weapons Officer, involved in supporting operations on the War on Terror. His experience operating with this organisation was influential in shaping his future career's heading and direction. In early 2002, Caine became a counter-Scud project officer. This involved working with the 5th Special Forces Group in addition to Australian and United Kingdom Special Forces. Caine stated this is one of the highlights of his career. This group of elite Tier 1 operators and pilots worked on planning to proactively defend countries neighbouring Iraq, primarily Saudi Arabia and Israel, from any Scud attacks that Saddam might launch in the event of a war. Learning lessons from Desert Storm, where Saddam Hussein's Scud attacks nearly brought Israel into the war. This planning was proactively designed to neutralise any threat in the future in the event of any conflict with Iraq. This preparation was fortuitous as the following year, in 2003, the US and coalition forces invaded Iraq, otherwise known as Operation Iraqi Freedom. To find, fix and finish Scuds before they could be launched by Iraq to escalate the war would be a top priority during the opening stages of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Involving close cooperation between ground and air assets, this team worked tirelessly, identifying hundreds of Scud hiding sites and rehearsing TTPs, or tactics, techniques and procedures, on how to quickly and effectively eliminate them. During the first night of the war, the team successfully infiltrated its SF operators on the ground in western Iraq, engaging and neutralising Scud targets across Anbar province and other areas. Allegedly, on the mission, approximately 100 TIC, or troops in contact, occurred during that time frame, with not a single person lost on the ground. The mission was an outstanding success, with the vast majority of Scuds being knocked out early on in Operation Iraqi Freedom. With high stakes and pressure to succeed, Caine stated there was a close emotional bond between those of us in the jets and those cats on the ground. The team had successfully achieved its strategic objective of no Scuds shot. After this assignment in Iraq, Caine worked at the Air National Guard Force Reserve Command Test Centre. This is a unique test facility which is responsible for the validation, testing and integration of equipment used on fighter aircraft. Basically, he ensured the Guard received appropriate night vision goggles, targeting pods, data links and appropriate weaponry. This involved working with various stakeholders, including contractors as well as military personnel. So I'm going to have to read off my notes on this one as it's a tongue twister. Caine is an advocate of embracing new technology and encourages a more flexible and entrepreneurial mindset to combat capability development in the defence industrial sector. He stated that the US needs to make sure that the mix of combat capability that the military is given matches and exceeds any threat in both capability and quantity. Boiling it down into simple terms, this means America needs bigger, better built and more plentiful sticks than any enemy or potential threat to Uncle Sam. That's simply my layman's terms interpretation of it, not Lieutenant General Caine's words. Caine's experiences also have made in place extra value on the junior ranks and NCOs who find innovative practical solutions to problems. I would suggest Caine's experience working with the Special Forces, where contributions to mission success and personal decision making and autonomy are encouraged at all levels, may have influenced his view on this. Still in the Air Force, in 2005, Caine then participated in a White House Fellowship. Established in 1964 by President Lyndon Johnson, the program offers exceptional young Americans the opportunity to gain first-hand experience working at the highest levels of the federal government. The fellowship takes leaders early on in their career from the private sector and military with the objective to give them insights on how senior leaders make decisions at a cabinet or presidential level. Between 11 and 19 Americans generally get selected per year after a grueling interview process. That's of about 2,000 applicants, so that's quite an achievement. Caine spent his year with the fellowship working at the US Department of Agriculture. It must have been quite a change from flying in jets. I think he would have been the world's best crop duster if he was selected for that role. However, he was working on Hurricane Katrina relief, apparently that happened within the first few days of his position, and also focusing on policies for avian influenza outbreaks. This gave him valuable experience in liaising with various non-military, federal, state and tribal entities and organisations. Returning to the military in 2006, Caine then spent time working at the White House as a policy director for counter-terrorism and strategy on the Homeland Security Council. This involved working with various different stakeholders to coordinate and draft and agree on a particular policy to a potential event in the future. Caine's focus was on overseas threats to the homeland. Focusing on this threat, Caine had to have daily intelligence briefs about global situations and a high level of knowledge about international affairs. He also worked on a team which shaped and wrote a national strategy policy on homeland security. After around 18 months or so, Caine was then assigned as operations commander for a joint special operations unit in Balad, Iraq. We've covered Balad, aka Mortaritaville, before on an earlier video on Tulsi Gabbard. Working closely with US SF, Caine took the opportunity to lead from the front and participated in many operations outside the wire with ground elements as a JTAC operator, in addition to other responsibilities. After his service in Iraq between 2009 and 2016, Caine then worked part-time at the National Guard and focused on his civilian career. Caine became involved in various entrepreneurial endeavours focusing on innovative technologies and the startup space. Returning to full-time military service in 2016, Caine then took on a variety of senior Air Force and Special Operations posts, working at the Pentagon, Fort Bragg, and Washington, D.C. It was in 2018, as Deputy Commander of US Central Command Special Operations Task Force, that Caine first met President Trump and reportedly stated that he could defeat ISIS in a matter of weeks. Between 2019 and 2021, Caine led the military's Special Access Program Central Office. This is a highly sensitive position which oversees what classified information on weapons programs is shared with foreign governments. In November 2021, Caine became Associate Director for Military Affairs at the CIA. He basically acted as a bridge between the CIA and the military, supporting operations, coordinating action and policies, and advising the CIA Director on military matters. Caine retired in December of 2024. In total, throughout his Air Force career, Caine flew 2,800 hours or so, with at least 100 of them combat hours. Caine's medals are Defence Superior Service Medal, Distinguished Flying Cross, Bronze Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Defence Meritorious Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal with Cluster, Air Medal with Cluster, Aerial Achievement Medal, Air and Space Commendation Medal with 2 clusters, Joint Service Achievement Medal, Air and Space Force Achievement Medal, Combat Readiness Medal, National Defence Service Medal plus Star, Iraq Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal with Silver Hourglass and M device. In addition, Caine also has ribbons, an Air and Space Outstanding Unit Award with V device and 3 bronze oak leaf clusters, another single Air and Space Outstanding Unit Award, Air and Space Expeditionary Service Ribbon, Air and Space Longevity Service Award, and finally the Air and Space Training Ribbon. Just be aware I did find a slight error in his Wikipedia medal ribbons, so watch out for that. In summary, Dan Razin Caine is an accomplished pilot, national security expert, a successful entrepreneur, and also a warfighter with significant interagency and special operations experience. With his wide range of experience and contacts in multiple departments and agencies, coupled with real-life private sector experience, Trump will likely see him as someone who focuses on finding solutions, cutting red tape, increasing efficiencies, and preventing a stovepiping of information. Advocates for Caine will say that he's politically neutral and always puts the mission and troops above politics and is firstly loyal to the US Constitution. Whatever decision is made, there can be no doubt that Dan Razin Caine is a high achiever who served his country with distinction over the past 3 decades. I gleaned much of the information for this video from the Afterburn podcast with John Waters, in which Dan Caine was a guest. It's a really insightful interview, and I would definitely recommend a listen. It's on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some value from this, and I'll see you in the next one.